Yeah, I guess it's time I told this story. I work night shifts as a guard at this supermarket called Friendly Prices. Basically, it's a place for drunks and old folks. Real classy stuff. The store is long, kinda narrow. You've got bulk pasta and bins, sugar that you have to chip off from these giant, heat-melted blocks. You get the idea. I took the job because the place is only 100 meters from my apartment. Plus, the work doesn't really get in the way of me being a shut-in. The store closes at 9. At 9:30, the lights and cameras cut off automatically. And by 10, I'm supposed to leave, lock everything up and go. Technically, I'm supposed to lay through the store with a flashlight during that half hour. You know, check for anything weird. But honestly, I just leave with the cashiers now. I can't be in there when the lights go out. It's too messed up. The cashiers, they're like me. Students, slackers, nobodies. They know what goes down, so they don't report me. See, the thing is, once the lights are out and the vodka shelves disappear into darkness, stuff starts happening. Something moves between the aisles. You hear things. Footsteps, taps, thuds. Not always, but often. And when I do walk through with a flashlight, it feels like something's hiding. Like it ducks out of the light at the last second, just to avoid being seen. Funny thing though, in the morning, I've never found signs of a break-in. Never seen any spoiled food. Nothing's missing. There are 2 other guards besides me. One's an old guy, the other's a woman almost at retirement age. I barely ever see them. Honestly, no one wants to spend more time in there than they have to. They hired me without any experience, so I'm guessing people quit this job a lot. I've tried to record something, tried to get proof, but my flagship smartphone, bought for 5,000 rubles, can't capture shit. So I was passing through this weird village once. Most people there seemed off, like really off. They actually believe they're cursed. At the time, I worked as a manager at a cable plant. Had to deliver some cable to a substation in that village. Went with a driver, needed the client to sign some docs. After that, the driver would head to the DC and I'd go back to my city. The place was in the middle of nowhere. Dirt roads, forests, swamps. On the way in, we passed busted farms, collapsed barns, rotting tractors. The village itself had just 2 streets crossing each other. No clue where people worked. When we arrived, half the village came out just to stare. Greeny kids, half-drunk adults, old folks, all just standing there. One guy, the client, seemed normal. Said he wasn't from there, just fixing the substation. Even he warned us, the locals are seriously weird. We unloaded the cable, truck left, and I stayed. The client said he'd drive me home himself. I hung out with the crew at the substation for a while, then wanted a beer. Asked if there was any store. They said some guy sells beer out of his house. Told me where. I walked through the village, and everyone's watching me. From fences, windows, but no one says a word. Found the house, knocked. The guy opens, looks normal enough. Jeans, t-shirt, sneakers. Unlike the rest of the village, they wore random stuff. Old sweatpants, galoshes, sweaters from the 60s, even jackets in the summer. It wasn't even cold, like 20 degrees. The dude's acting twitchy. I figured he'll let me in to browse, but nah. Just asks, "What do you want? Got any beer?" "Something good." He turns inside. I'm standing on the porch. Turn around, 2 dirty kids staring at me, one pointing. He comes back with a bottle of Biker Strong. I try to ask for something else, and he goes, "That's all I got. Take it or leave it." Wanted 100 rubles for it. Whatever. I took it and left. Heading back, I notice no teens, no 20-somethings, just older adults, kids, and seniors. No one between 15 and 30. I took another route back, hoping maybe the other part of the village was better. Nope. Worse. People were dumping slop straight onto the street and birds swarmed it. Filthy ducks, chickens, geese, all gross and fighting. Then it hit me. No dogs, not one bark. In a village, that's not normal. Saw one cat on the outskirts, but that's it. No livestock either. And the houses? Falling apart, paint peeling, roofs caving in. Back at the substation, I asked the guys what the hell was going on. They said the locals are crazy. Talked to one guy who claimed the village is cursed. And if you leave, you die within a year. That's why the young people are all dead. They tried to leave, said a warlock cursed the place back in 1949. KGB took him, and when they loaded him into the car, he cursed the entire village. Not the scariest story, maybe, but that place? Something's really wrong there. You can feel it in the air. My grandfather once told me about his old army buddy. Let's call him Pahan. Quiet guy. Never said much about his service days. Only once, when he was completely drunk, did he share something strange. This was in the 1970s. Pa served in a recon unit stationed near the Finnish border. Their job was mostly routine, patrol the forest, check border markers, that sort of thing. One day, they went out on a standard mission. Full gear, usual route. Everything was normal, until it wasn't. They stumbled on a clearing that wasn't marked on any map. It felt off right away, dead silent. No wind, no birds, no forest sounds, just stillness. In the middle stood this massive pitch-black tree. They checked the compass, spinning uselessly, tried the radio, just static. The lieutenant ordered them to form a perimeter. They began to spread out, and that's when one guy screamed and fired a burst straight into the tree. The rounds passed right through. Then the guy dropped his weapon, started convulsing. Eyes rolled back and collapsed. They ran to him, but he was dead. No wounds, just gone. The lieutenant shouted for a retreat, but the trail they came in on, gone, like it never existed. It took them hours to find their way back, and when they finally did, it was almost dark. When they reported it, their commander told them to forget it, called it a weather anomaly, said not to bring it up again. The soldier who died, official cause of death, heart failure, Pahan never spoke about it after that. Said the place wasn't just wrong, it felt alive, and it hated them. When I was a little peased youth, I used to go to our dacha in a small village. The village was tiny, and nowadays, it's more like a summer cottage settlement. Almost no old houses left. The place itself was weird and creepy. Hearing knocks on windows, footsteps in the house, shadows, and other spooky crap at night was normal. But this story isn't about that. There was an abandoned house on a hill nearby. An old, unpainted log hut, no proper fence, just a bunch of sticks like a makeshift barrier. There used to live an old witch, some sort of generational thing. My grandma still remembered that witch's mother, and she was also a witch. According to the locals, they were all absolutely nuts and nasty. Nobody talked to them. Lived off the grid with no garden, no livestock. Didn't work anywhere. How they survived, who the hell knows. That witch gave birth to a daughter from no known father either. I remember that old hag. She was disgusting. Looked like a fairy tale Baba Yaga. Her skin was pale and her eyes were discolored. There are a bunch of stories about her and her witchy shit. I'll share more if you're interested. Anyway, she kicked the bucket when I was around 8. I didn't see it, but the villagers said she screamed for like 2 days straight before dying. The house has been abandoned ever since. Usually people loot those places, but not that one. Everyone avoided it. We kids were forbidden from going near it. Of course, I didn't give a damn. Curiosity got the better of me. I took a girl from the neighborhood, same age as me, and we went into that damn monster of a house. And Nons, the atmosphere was absolutely fucked. Like the best horror flicks. I still get chills. Inside it was dark, dusty, smelled like death. Everything was untouched. On the windows, feather bed, carpets, wardrobes. I glanced quickly into the top corner of the room, where people used to hang icons. There was only one. Didn't think much of it at first. We were just snooping around when suddenly, bam, that icon falls off. I go to check it out naturally, and it's a freaking icon of a goat. An old darkened icon with a goddamn goat's head and weird ass symbols. I shit myself then and there. I called the girl over. She freaked out and started panicking. We decided to get the hell out. We were in the main room, and the way out was through the front porch, which we came in through. But the door was shut. Neither of us closed it. We pounded on it. Nothing. Locked solid, even though there was no lock. The girl started crying, and I was already ready to shit bricks. That's when something started pounding from the basement. Hard. Like someone was banging from under the house so hard the floor and carpet were shaking. The girl started crossing herself, but it didn't help. I told her we needed to go out the window. The windows were glass, but one pane was broken. No way an adult would fit, but maybe we could. Problem is, to get there, we'd have to cross the whole room, and over that damn basement door. We didn't have the guts. While we were hesitating, something started banging on the front door. Anon, imagine this, 2 9-year-olds in a pitch-black creepy room, a demonic goat icon on the floor, and pounding coming from everywhere. Calling for help was pointless. The nearest house was about 500 meters down the hill, and we made sure the neighbors wouldn't rat us out by slipping away unnoticed. Finally, we ran across the room to the window. The girl went first. She was hesitating, so I gave her a push. She fell and must have gotten hurt because she just lay there, only crawled away a bit. I climbed out behind her, and then she looks at me, then behind me, and screams bloody murder. That scream got me moving real fast. I jumped out and we bolted away at light speed. Later, she told me she saw some terrifying face behind me in the window. That's why she screamed. We swore not to tell anyone, but of course she told her relatives, and they told my grandma. I had to fess up. To my surprise, they believed us. Barely scolded us. My grandma even asked, "Did you touch that goat icon?" I said yeah. That same evening, she dragged me to the banya, scrubbed me down, muttered something over my head, then poured the wash water into a ditch. No idea why. They tried to burn that house later, but it wouldn't catch. I don't know how that's possible. The fire would start, then just go out. Eventually, some assholes bought the land, tore down the house, and built a 2-story cottage. But they never moved in. It's for sale now. I'm the Anon who wrote this story. Some anon asked me to post more, so here's a few tales about that damned witch whose house almost scared the crap out of me. I didn't witness these myself, but my grandma and the whole village did, and I doubt an entire village would lie. The witch, I think her name was Agrafena or Agathia, supposedly wasn't even born from a man. People say her mom used to get visits from a forest shapeshifter. She'd be covered in bruises and scratches, then got pregnant. Sounds like total bullshit to me. Probably some abusive bastard just beat her up, but who knows? Story 1, the witch didn't age. I mean, she did, but super slowly, not like normal people. My great-grandma remembered her from when she was 5, and back then the witch looked about 25. My great-great-grandma moved to that village before the revolution, and even then Agrafena looked 25. She didn't change at all until my grandma was born. Then overnight, boom, she suddenly looked 40. Everyone was shocked. Stayed that way for a long time. My mom remembers her like that. Then in the early 90s, right before I was born, she aged rapidly into a crone, like 70, then died soon after. Same deal with her mother. People remembered her as this strong, healthy woman for decades. Then overnight, she shriveled into a haggard crone and died. Both deaths were followed by inhuman screams and a week of pouring rain. I remember that rain when Agrafena died. I was 8. Story 2, the wartime love curse. Before the war, there was a guy in the village. Let's call him Andre. He had a girl, they were gonna marry, everything was good. Then that damn Agrafena decided she wanted him. Started coming on to him, but he told her to fuck off. His family panicked. When a witch like her chooses you, you're screwed no matter what. A month before the war, she showed up at his fiance's house yelling, "Give him to me, he'll be mine anyway." The girl crossed herself and told her to leave. They even nailed a horseshoe above the door to keep the witch out. Right before leaving, Agrafena says, "There's going to be a big war. You won't live to see the end, and Andre will come back and be with me." Well, that's exactly what happened. War broke out, Andre got drafted, and a few months later people started seeing him near the witch's hut at night. The whole village gossiped. Agrafena went to the fiancé again and said, "It's true, your man visits me every night, and you're gonna die soon." Within a week, a horse kicked the girl to death, out of nowhere. Everyone knew who was responsible, but what could they do? No priests, no clue how to fight this shit. Everyone just tried not to piss her off. Andre supposedly kept visiting the witch at night until he returned from the war. He didn't remember any of it. Said, "What are you talking about? I was at war." But not long after, he suddenly packed up and moved into Agrafena's place with her and her mother. Cut ties with his family, never went outside. Eventually, Agrafena got pregnant. One night, when she gave birth, Andre suddenly snapped out of it and ran back to his parents' house. That same night, he fell ill. While he was sick, he told them all sorts of crazy shit. How Agrafena and her mother worshiped the devil, how demons run around their yard, and how the baby wasn't human but a little demon. No one knew if they should believe him. He asked them to burn the clothes he came in and bathe him 3 times in the banya. They did, but it didn't help. He died. No one knows what happened to the witch's baby. Probably died the same night, or she killed it herself. Also, when my grandma was born, Agrafena came to my great-grandma and said, "What a lovely child. Let's swap. I'll give you mine, you give me yours." My great-grandma told her to fuck off and threw holy water in her face. Story 3, the love spell that ended in murder. This one's my favorite. Of course, the witch did curses, love spells, all that. But villagers avoided her like the plague, except for the occasional genius who thought, it'll be fine. My grandma had a friend, Lyda, who was one of those. She wanted to seduce a guy, and everyone told her not to, even my grandma. But Lyda didn't care. She went to Agrafena, spent some time there, and came back saying, "Let's go steal chickens." Grandma was like, "What the hell?" And Lyda said it was necessary. Grandma didn't want to let her down, so for 3 nights they stole chickens from people's yards, and Lyda brought them to the witch. No one knows what happened to the birds, but I think it's obvious. After the 3rd chicken, the guy suddenly started chasing after Lyda. They got married and moved to the city. Lyda wrote my grandma letters, I saw them myself, saying how amazing life was, thanking Agrafena for the happiness and all that. A year passed and the letter stopped. At first, no one worried. But then, one day, Grandma was hanging laundry outside, and who strolls by? Agrafena. She asks all friendly like, "No letters from Lyda?" Grandma tells her to piss off. Agrafena starts laughing. Some horrible, shrieking laugh and says, "Well, of course, not much mail from the afterlife." Grandma was terrified, wanted to go to the city, but before she could, the cops showed up. Said they needed someone to ID a body, or what was left of it. Turned out, exactly 1 year after the love spell, Lyda's husband snapped and hacked her to pieces with an axe. Then he hung her remains from the chandelier. Took off after that. Neighbors smelled something, and that's how they found her. The shit just happened right now, and it's such a fucking pineapple that I'm gonna try to describe it clearly. Then you decide what the hell's going on. So, I rent an apartment in a DS block. My bedroom wall connects to the kitchen of the neighboring apartment. There used to live a Babushka, quiet, normal, but kind of deaf. Every evening she'd get glued to the zombie box with the volume cranked up, and I could hear everything through the wall. Well, she kicked the bucket about a month ago. So, yeah, all good, peace and quiet. But after a couple days of silence, I started hearing the TV again in the evenings. I figured it was the neighbors. Thing is, it was running noticeably quieter than the Babushkas used to. Plus, I personally saw her relatives clear out the entire place, including that TV. But here's where the shit gets weird. That thing's on, but it's like muffled. Can't make anything out clearly. It plays quietly and only from 8 to 9 in the evening. Then total silence. Yesterday, I decided to really listen. Press my ear to the wall, exactly the one the Babushka used to be on the other side of. And I hear it the clearest there. It's Puskovoryat, a talk show, they're yapping about how some Petrenko's inheritance is being split. So I Google it, and turns out that episode most likely aired on July 19 this year, which means it aired just a month ago. The Babushka died around the 20th, so like, she could have watched that episode, laid down, and just never got up. That's the kind of shit I'm dealing with. And while I was realizing all this, my butt was clenched so tight it could cut diamonds. Alright, here's my story. Total surreal fuckery. I still have no clue what happened or how any of it's even possible. Right away, no, I wasn't drinking or high or anything like that. So, I was a student, level 22. One spring, a classmate of mine, someone I got along well with, got sick. She calls me and asks if I could take a bag of stuff to her aunt. Says she can't go herself, it's urgent. I say sure. She hands me the bag and the address. I didn't even check what was in it. Didn't give a shit. So I arrive in Samukastan village, 60 kilometers out of town. Typical dying-ass settlement. Marginal area, everything's half abandoned. Gutted buildings, booze hounds everywhere. I find the house. It's a basic 3-floor panel krushakyovka. I show up by evening. The stairwell's pitch black. Had to find the place by touch. Creepy as hell. I ring the bell, door opens, and this really unpleasant aunt is standing there. Ugly as sin, skin pale like chalk, eyes totally deranged. Spinning like she escaped from a psych ward. I got chills just from her look. I tell her I'm from her niece. Hand her the bag. She grins and invites me in for some tea. I go in, the place is wrecked. Didn't see the rooms, but the kitchen, holy shit, total Soviet dump, like from the 90s. Window frames rotted through, no chandelier, just some sad-ass bowl. She pours me tea, starts asking stuff like how the niece is doing, how studies are going, all that filler crap. I sip the tea, and suddenly these insanely creepy groans start coming from one of the rooms. Then, someone starts banging on the wall. The aunt grins again, says something like, "Oh, she's acting up again. I'll go check," and walks off. The groans get louder, and I just sit there, feeling pure, irrational fear. Like, nothing really happened yet, but something felt very wrong. Sure, maybe she's got a sick old lady in there or whatever, but I was scared shitless. Dropped a couple mental breaks and decided to get the hell out. I dashed into the hallway. Thank God I didn't take off my sneakers. Mumbled something like, "Sorry, I am running late," and noped out hard. As I ran, I saw weird shadows and heard loud, cackling laughter coming from the apartment. Screw that noise. I sprinted the hell out of there, but here's where it gets really juicy. I call the classmate after I get back. She tells me her aunt already called her and said, "Thanks a lot, but why do you leave so fast?" She got a little offended, so I just lay it all out, but the apartment seemed creepy as hell, bad vibes all around. Then I asked, "Hey, who was the groaning old lady in the other room?" And she goes, You okay in the head? My aunt lives in a private house with her husband and kids. There's no babushka there, never was. I just lost it right there. You have no idea how hard I got mindfucked." She keeps going. "Yeah, she lives in a house. No old ladies, no apartment, nothing like that." "Dude, what the hell were you smoking?" I checked the address she gave me, and it's not the one I went to. Can't even remember the street name, but it was something generic like Molodiyozhnaya or Leninskaya, names every city has. Except, there's no such street in that town. Google Maps just showed regular residential houses where she supposedly lives. According to my classmate, I showed up, gave them the stuff, had tea, talked to everyone in the house, then suddenly got weird and bailed. But the place I went to doesn't even exist on the map. Where the hell was I? Even went to church after all that. Swear to God, I have no rational explanation. Can't be a hallucination. I remember the taste of the tea, the smell of that nasty-ass apartment, the feel of the stairwell. And again, I repeat, I wasn't drunk or high. Still don't know what the hell that was. Alright, Anons, my childhood was full of creepy stuff. Seriously, a ton of it. If you're interested, I could do a whole series. But let's start with some background. Like a lot of you, I was terrified of the dark. I mean, full-on panic, screaming in the middle of the night, running to my parents' room almost every evening. Every night felt like a survival challenge. That's when I developed the habit of staying awake until 4 in the morning, just waiting for the first rays of sunlight to feel safe. My mom tried everything. Night lights, gentle talks, you name it. But eventually, she just took me to a psychiatrist. And you know what? That's when things went from bad to worse. If the meds had at least dulled the fear a little, I'd have accepted it. But nope, the creepy stuff didn't just stay. It got more intense. A normal night went like this. I'd wake up around 1 in the morning, still remembering all the creepy stuff from the nights before. Then the shadows would show up, moving through the room, whispering, sometimes laughing. It always felt like they were trying to mess with my head. By the time the sun came up, I felt like I'd been through hell. That became my normal, like some kind of cursed bedtime routine. But once in a while, things went way beyond normal creepy. Those nights became stories of their own. Here's one of them. I woke up around 2 a.m. The room was pitch black, and I could see the shadows pulsing, moving. I was terrified, crying silently, trying not to make a sound. I covered my mouth with both hands so it wouldn't hear the sobs, but I think it already had. The dark seemed to come alive, shifting and laughing at me. Dozens of faces appeared, twisted, mocking like they were feeding off my fear. That lasted about an hour. Then I finally snapped, pulled together every ounce of willpower I had, and bolted through the door, past mirrors and darkness, straight to the kitchen. I slammed the door shut, turned on the light, and flipped on the TV. Tried to calm down, grabbed some snacks. Something was scratching at the door, but I blocked it out, just kept watching Discovery Channel and eating cookies. The scratching stopped after a while. I decided to change the channel, and that's when it happened. Right there, on the full screen, a girl's face, wide-eyed, gun pressed to her temple. She was wearing a white shirt, and under her face, a caption, men's shirt, 1230 rubles. Then her face started to rot, literally, her skin decay melting off. Blood and flesh poured from the TV like sludge. Chunks of bone and cartilage mixed in. It was dripping out of the screen. I sat there frozen for maybe 5 minutes, then finally snapped out of it and changed the channel. By morning, my mom found me still in the kitchen. She flipped out, told me I was out of my mind, and sent me to bed. And look, maybe I could have chalked it all up to a dream, but the cookie wrapper was still there on the table the next day. So I was at the seaside not too long ago. One of those typical resort towns, packed with tourists in summer, completely dead in winter. I went there on a friend's recommendation. He'd vacationed there a few times and swore by it. And yeah, it was exactly like he said. Warm waves, blazing sun, sandy beaches, and these steep cliffs just a little ways off from the main town. I met up with him when I got there and dove headfirst into the usual office drone on vacation routine. You know, didn't have the cash to fly somewhere fancy, so you settle for sea and sand. Might as well joke about leasing a Ford Focus to feel better. Anyway, one day I'm walking along the coast and I noticed something strange. All the locals and even the more seasoned vacationers are swimming only within the town limits. It's always crowded, trash floating around, sand mixed with broken shells. Not the most relaxing scene, but under those cliffs, clean, quiet, better in every way, and not a soul in sight. So I asked my buddy the next day if he wanted to check that spot out. He just looked at me and said, "There's a reason no one goes down there." Then he told me the story. Back in the early 2000s, there was this guy, a total outcast, into all sorts of alternative stuff. At this point, no one remembers exactly what music he listened to or what group he thought he belonged to. Honestly, the guy probably just made up his own thing. That part's not important. What is remembered is this. In a town that small, he was definitely the only one of his kind. He wore a long trench coat, a baseball cap, stood out like a sore thumb, but he kept to himself, wasn't causing any trouble. Until, surprise, surprise, he fell in love. Not much is known about the girl, but one thing's clear, she wasn't exactly thrilled to have him fawning over her. Still, he went all in. Played her songs on an out-of-tune guitar, brought her flowers, asked her out on walks by the sea. She tried to balance it all, didn't want to be cruel, but also didn't want him hanging around either. Classic friend-zone material. You've seen it 100 times online, but everything has a breaking point. One sunny weekend, when the whole town was out swimming, she finally told him what she really thought. Brutally honest. They were standing right by the cliffs, the same ones I was walking under. And that was it. Something in the guy just snapped. People watched as he climbed up the cliffside. The girl was yelling after him, and everyone on the beach just stared. He looked out to sea, took off his trench coat, and jumped right off the edge. Alright, so this happened not too long ago. Nothing super long or drawn out. The whole thing was short, but creepy as hell. My girlfriend lives in another city, so we usually fall asleep on Skype together. One night, she was home alone and got really scared. I promised I'd stay awake the whole night. Told her if she woke up, I'd be there to answer. It was around 3 a.m. I was just scrolling through VK, killing time, when I heard her rustling in her sleep. She didn't wake up, just shifted around a bit. Then, a couple of minutes later, I heard footsteps in her apartment. Now, she lives on the first floor, but the windows were closed. Still, I could tell, the steps belonged to an adult. They were getting closer, and I realized someone was right next to her bed. That's when I heard whispering. I couldn't make out the words, but it was definitely a woman's voice, like an old woman, whispering right next to her. Then I heard the steps again, fading away. Whatever it was, it left. I couldn't sleep even if I wanted to. Next morning, I told her everything. She said the front door was locked. The key was in the lock, from the inside. No one could have gotten in, not even with a spare. Next morning, I told her everything. She said the front door was locked. The key was in the lock, from the inside. No one could have gotten in, not even with a spare, and she wasn't sleepwalking. I heard her tossing and turning during the whispering. I still have no explanation. Any ideas? Man, I used to clown on people talking about the Mandela effect and how they remember New Zealand being in the wrong spot on the map or whatever. Total nonsense, right? Well, last night I realized I might be just as brain-fried as they are. I was chatting with a friend about movies and I mentioned one, the one where the kid sees dead people. I told him, yeah, that one. Nicolas Cage played the kid's psychiatrist or whatever. He just looked at me and said, bro, that was The Sixth Sense. And it wasn't Cage, it was Bruce Willis. I froze. We looked it up, and yeah, it was Bruce Willis, no question. But here's the thing, I swear it was Cage. I remember the scenes. His face. It's burned into my memory. Total mindfuck. Alright fellas, here we go. This one's about my cousin. A real piece of work. She's my aunt's daughter, about 16 at the time, and for whatever reason, she decided she was done blowing guys in stairwells in the back seats of beat-up Lotus. So she swiped the keys from her mom and headed to our great-grandma's old house. I found out first because she kept trying to rope me into going out there with her girl gang and getting drunk. I said hell no. I'm not that stupid. Anyway, she takes some guy out there one winter night. Classic teen, romantic vibes. They ordered sushi, cracked open some beer, sat on the floor in the main room. There was an open doorway leading to the entry hall, and through it, you could see the old stove. They're just chilling, when she notices the little curtain on the stove twitching. She brushes it off, probably just the booze. Then they start getting down to business. She's lying on the floor, turns her head toward the door, and boom. Behind that curtain, there's a pair of yellow eyes staring at her. She screams, dude freaks out too. Then, from the hallway, they hear this weird, snide little chuckle. Quiet, but clear. She ran home, slammed some more beer, then called me and told me everything. Now, yeah, you could blame it on alcohol, but she drinks like a draft horse. A couple beers wouldn't faze her. And her dude, stone cold sober. He heard the laugh too. You'd think that would be enough to scare her away from that house for good, but nah. Sometime later, she drags a different dude over there. Same setup, beer, sushi, fake romance. Except this time they light candles and move to a different room. At least they had that much sense. So they're doing their thing, and suddenly, that same creepy-ass laugh starts echoing from all the corners. The candles fall over, the curtains and carpet catch fire instantly. They're scrambling to put it out when someone starts pounding on the door. Not just one person. It sounds like 5 people slamming on it at once. They jumped out the window and booked it. That time, the whole street heard them screaming like lunatics. She got the full combo, embarrassed in front of the whole neighborhood and grounded by her mom for torching the curtains and being a hoe. Thankfully, after that, she wouldn't set foot in that place again if you paid her. This happened a couple months ago. I went out for a late night run, took my usual route past some old industrial zones. It's usually dead quiet there. Just a paved path along abandoned factories, storage buildings, and garage clusters. Nothing spooky, just a peaceful dark jog. Except this time, the streetlights were all off. Didn't really bother me. In fact, it felt kind of cozy. Old school almost. Moon was out, so I kept running. Halfway through, I started smelling something nasty, like rotting meat. Figured maybe some dog got hit by a car or something. Gross, but whatever. Then I noticed movement out of the corner of my eye. Instinctively turned my head and saw something. No idea what it really was, but it looked like an old woman, running on all fours between the garages, naked, with her stomach cut open or something. Could have been guts, could have been ropes. Just that pale ass, that swinging gut, and the trail behind her. Then it vanished into the dark. And that was the smell. It reeked. I was scared shitless. Instantly broke into a sprint and didn't stop. Kept checking over my shoulder every few steps. I could feel it behind me, like it was chasing me. Thought I saw a pale blur in the shadows a few times. Only slowed down when I hit a street with people and lights. Tried to calm myself down, told myself it was just a sick dog or something carrying trash. A few days later, I forced myself to jog the same route again. This time, nothing strange. But man, that night was messed up.